Can everyone see my screen yet? Stacy, can you see it?
Yes, I sure can.
Okay.
I can see it.
Perfect.
I'm going to mute you. I've got quite a bit of traffic in my office.
Oh, do you want me to mute you here on my end so nothing comes through?
Sure.
Okay, that'll work.
Can you do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
You should be able to, let's see. I think if you need to ask a question, there should be a way for you to like raise your hand in the training class.
Yeah, a little blue circle
yeah.
with a hand in it.
Yeah, if you click that, I will unmute you so you can ask a question.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Today's class, we are going to cover kind of the advanced side of the OCS software. What we want to address is how to set up your rentals, how to set up the rental billing, and also look at the route schedule and how we can use our customer-specific pricing and auto-generating route tickets to automatically create invoices for all the stops that are on our route schedule. So first, I do want to look at rentals real quick. It is pretty simple in the OCS program how to set up a rental. This could either be a rented piece of equipment that you want to keep track of. Also, if you're in the kind of bottled water, office coffee, a lot of the rented equipment are cooler rentals. So if I hit the drop-down under rentals, I can go to items currently rented. And you can see here I have one rental item set up to a customer, but we'll walk through how I created that. The first thing we need to select is an actual item that we're going to use to track our cooler rental. This will need to be set up in QuickBooks, and we recommend using a service item in QuickBooks, maybe called cooler rental, for example. And then we could select that item from our QuickBooks item list. We then need to assign it a serial number, and this could be the actual model or serial number you're currently using to track this piece of equipment. And if you're not using serial numbers, we could just put in an arbitrary number to keep track of it within the OCS program. So I could just use 002. The next thing I would need to do is select a customer that I'm renting out this piece of equipment to. After I select the customer, I can put in the location of where this unit is placed. For example, like second floor break room. And then I would need to set up this monthly charge for the reoccurring billing. So for instance, this could be any dollar amount that you want to reoccur, maybe $150 a month. And then the billing increment would be how often you want to bill this customer, whether it be monthly, quarterly. We'll just select monthly. If you're using more than one billing increment, maybe you've got some customers that you're billing monthly. Maybe you've got some that you bill, maybe they prepay quarterly. We could utilize a billing group within this within the rental screen here to run billing for a separate group of customers, whether you want to run all your monthlies at once. And then once a quarter, you could run all the quarterly billing. To create a billing group, all we have to do is double-click in the field labeled Billing Group, and we will get a maintenance menu that pops up where we can type in our first couple billing groups, maybe monthly. Now I could put maybe some customers into a monthly billing group. The delivery date, I could select the date that we delivered the unit or the date that we're going to deliver the unit. And the last bill date, we could put in what they are currently paid through. If you're just switching to the OCS software and you've been tracking your rentals elsewhere, this is the field where you want to put in their last invoice date. That way now the OCS program can pick up the billing from that date moving forward. If this is a rental for a new customer that you're setting up, the last bill date will be the same as the delivery date. That's everything we need to set up this one piece of equipment for this customer. If I want to track maybe some additional information about this rented piece of equipment, I can double-click in the serial number that is blue and underlined. And that kind of follows our overall procedure in the software of anything blue and underlined. You can double-click to drill down and see the details. So when I double-click on the serial number, you will see we have a ton of fields here. We can track additional information about this particular piece of equipment. For instance, we could keep track of the market cost and replacement cost, purchase price, manufacturer serial number. And then you also have about 15 customizable fields you can use just by clicking in the white space and typing a new name. Maybe we want to keep track of the color of this water cooler. And to save any data in this screen, we would just hit close on the window. Our first couple customizable fields are actually displayed right on the rental inventory list. Anyone have any questions on how to set up a piece of rented equipment inside OCS? All right, let's walk through now what our monthly billing would look like. In the OCS program, we do have a couple options to run our monthly billing, and we do account for a couple different billing cycles. You can have a billing cycle that lasts 28 days. You can do a calendar month every 30 or 31. And to run our billing, we can just go to Rentals, Billing, and then run Rental Billing. The first thing we need to select is our end date of the current billing cycle. This will be considered as the cutoff date, and any customer with a rented piece of equipment is going to be billed from that piece of equipment's last bill date that we just set up to the cutoff date. So let's say today is the end of the month. This is a great example. We could put in, today would be the cutoff date. I could then pick the billing group I want to run for, so I'm going to run all my monthly billings. Then I can hit Generate Pre-Billing. At this point, nothing is going to be sent to QuickBooks. Once I've generated my pre-billing, I can go to View Pre-Billing. And you're going to see a batch screen. This screen is going to list every customer that has a rented piece of equipment that was in that monthly billing group we selected. And this is kind of your last chance to double check the totals, the dates, before we send these invoices to QuickBooks. What we're looking at is we see our invoice number that's generated for us, the customer, the rented item and its serial number, their monthly charge. We have their prior billing date. And if everything is accounted for, we could just select the posting date or the date we want to appear on the top of the QuickBooks invoice. And then we would hit Post to QuickBooks to automatically have the OCS program generate invoices for every customer on this list. If for whatever reason you were looking at that pre-billing screen and something didn't seem quite right, we can always just close that back screen just like I did without sending anything to QuickBooks. We could then go down here to the bottom of our run rental billing screen, and we could delete that billing run and go back into our items currently rented to make any adjustments I need. And then I could rerun my billing. If we quickly look up any customer, for instance, that we have something rented to, I'm going to open up this customer here in the customer detail. Customer info, customer detail. And I can go to their rental tab. This will also display everything that customer currently has rented out. We could also set up a new rental from this screen right here for this customer by putting in the location. Select again our cooler rental item. I could put in a new serial number. Put in its monthly amount. And then put in the delivery date or the install date, just like I would on the items currently rented screen. Now if I close customer detail and go back into rentals, items currently rented, you'll see that it does add it to our items currently rented when we do add it from the customer detail screen. Before we move on to getting into some of our customer-specific pricing, inventory management, and routing, anyone have any questions on the rental side of OCS? All right. So what we're going to look at now is quickly just kind of review over our route schedule. We're going to look at how to set up customer-specific pricing within OCS and kind of what customer-specific pricing is in general. I'm just going to go ahead and bring up my route schedule by going Routing, Route Schedule. And I've got one route set up here for today with 7 stops on it. And I do have one customer on this schedule, this Adams Frank customer here, that we set up 2 rentals for. The nice thing is our software ties it together and it will tell me that this customer has 2 of my rented machines. Our route schedule, just as a quick review, is managed by a couple different settings. One is a frequency. This frequency would be the different delivery dates, or basically it's the interval between, or the interval of how often you want this delivery to reoccur or this service to reoccur. If I double click in my frequency, it pulls up my route frequency maintenance. And I can then see that I do have a weekly frequency to be set up every 7 days. So any customer on this weekly frequency is going to have a service, if I set them up on a Friday delivery date, would reoccur every Friday. I also have here what I call a one-time service. So this could also be managed by calling it maybe a off-schedule delivery. This is a great frequency to have for any customers that maybe call you out of the blue before their delivery date, maybe today's Friday and they normally get product from you on Wednesday. They call and say, "Hey, I'm out of water. Can you bring some over to me before my delivery date?" This is where you could then go into your route schedule and maybe set up that customer on that one-time or off-schedule delivery. I can put in a little route note, and that way it's added onto my schedule. That customer is going to get serviced. And then after the end of the day, when I'm posting my route here, what's going to happen to my one-time service is it's going to be deleted off my route schedule. That way I don't end up servicing this customer every Friday as well as every Wednesday. So when I post my route, I still have my weekly stops have now changed from this Friday to next Friday, and that one-time or off-schedule delivery was deleted. We do get a lot of phone calls, people asking some questions about why do we have a route and a route date and an assigned to and assigned date. This is simply to control basically the route and route date are that customer's assigned technician, and that's their usual service date would be, let's say, every Friday, and they're always on Route 1. For any reason, let's say my Route 1 cannot, maybe he calls in sick and I have to reassign some of his stops to my other technicians. That's what the assign to is for, is to temporarily reassign that customer to a different route or a different day. So I can maybe reassign this to a Route 2 or Route 3 or a backup driver. And then after that day, I could hit Reset Assigned. And I could say I want to reset everything back to its original driver for that day's date. That will automatically put that customer back onto Route 1. I could also use that same logic for the assigned to. For any reason, maybe we can't get to a couple customers on Friday, or maybe that customer call and say, "Hey, don't come in today, could you come Monday instead?" But they still want to be serviced or delivered to every Friday. You could just, for that one time, temporarily change the assigned to date. And then after that day is over, you could reset assigned and post your route, and they would fall back into their regularly every Friday service. Any questions so far on kind of the basic route schedule operation? All right, let's take a look at what OCS offers that it's kind of one of our main features in this program, and that is the customer-specific pricing. In OCS and RouteStar, we have the option to set a specific price for each customer on every QuickBooks item we have. And this one allows us to have one item and every customer a different price without having to have a different item in QuickBooks for each customer with their specific price. We also use customer-specific pricing to set up kind of a template for that customer's usual order. So let's open up maybe my first stop here. Let's go ahead and open them up in customer detail and take a look at their pricing. And I can do that quickly by double-clicking right here off my route schedule on their customer name. It's going to open up that customer for me in customer detail, and I can go to the pricing tab. If you see here, I've set up 3 items for this customer with a specific price that is maybe different than my QuickBooks price. Maybe this is a high volume customer, so we give them a little break. And again, I'm using the same item in QuickBooks, and I can assign a price that would take precedence over the QuickBooks default on any invoice that came from OCS. One thing is when we get into auto-generating the ticket here shortly, you're going to see if I don't have a fill cap set, when I auto-generate my tickets, these items are going to be on the invoice with a 0 quantity. I would say the majority of the users on the software do it just that way, as they populate these invoices with 0 quantities, and then the driver then adjusts the quantities on the invoice based on what that customer actually took. But let's say you are delivering bottled water and customer John Doe always takes the same amount. Well, you could use the fill cap to manually set the quantity on all these auto-generated tickets for that customer. So maybe he always takes 2 of this and 1 of that, 3 here, 4 here. Now when I auto-generate an invoice, that will control the quantities for these items. These averages will start populating themselves based on when you have kind of completed invoices and stops for that customer. And if they're on a weekly service, it would take probably at least 2 stops or 2 invoices for these averages to start populating. If they're on a bi-weekly, it's going to probably take a month or 2 stops for them to start seeing these averages populate. When setting up our customer pricing, we do have some little shortcuts you can take advantage of, and that's this little button right here on the top of the pricing page where it says add items in a group or copy customer pricing. I can click this button and I can, top half here, I can take any pricing items from this customer and I could copy it from one to the other. So maybe I want to take this customer's pricing and I want to copy it to another customer. So if I go look up this customer, and I go to their pricing tab, they have the same items now set up, and then I could maybe make my adjustments to that price. Maybe they're 26 on this item, $9.50 here, and $4. So that's a little shortcut you could use, is you could set up a couple different customers that maybe will reflect a majority of your pricing, and then just copy it from one to the other to all the customers that fit that price group. If you see here this top half, I can actually add a price group to a customer. To use this, we're going to have to go to our actual inventory screen. We can set up some different groupings. For instance, I can go to Inventory, Item List, and I have a preferred pricing grouping. And if I double click in that, I can set up some price groups. Maybe I have Group A, and I'll create a Group B. And the sort order is just the order I want to see these groups in any drop-down menu. I'll show you here in a second. When I hit a drop-down menu, I want Group A and then Group B listed. Just like that. So now I can take a couple different items and put them into a pricing group. And this is great for maybe grouping all your paper products together, all your bottled water products together, things like that nature. It makes it real easy then. I could pick the customer here and then pick the group that I want to add all the items to. Now, every customer on my route schedule has pricing already set up for a couple different items. And I do have a list that would give me every customer who's got a specific price on my items. And I can get to that list by going to Inventory, Customer Preferred Pricing, and I can go to my Customer Item Pricing list. This would be every customer I have that has a specific price on an item. So I can see here, Donna Adams has 4 different items. She's got a specific price that differs from QuickBooks. I can also now utilize that my customers have a pricing page that is acting like a template for items that are on their usual order. If I set up the software that way, I could take advantage of customers that do not take an item. This is where I could pick an item on my QuickBooks item list, and the software then will tell me every customer who doesn't have this item on their pricing page. I now have a targeted marketing list I could give to my route sales technician or to my sales guy and say, hey, these are the items we're going to try to upsell this week. Here's a list of every customer who's not taking that item. You could also use this for maybe selecting your 5-gallon bottled water. And you could find every customer that's maybe not taking that is taking a certain other product. To do that, I can use find, replace, or add an item to a customer pricing. And from this screen, this is where I could select maybe my paper product, maybe cone cups, for instance. And I want everyone that has cone cups to also get bottled water. And I would select that here. And I could hit run, and it would automatically add bottled water to every customer that had a specific price on cone cups, for instance. This top part of this screen is very useful for once you've been using the OCS program for a while, and maybe you've done some maintenance to your QuickBooks item list, you've added some new products, or maybe you've replaced an item that you were using and all your customers in OCS have an old item, and to avoid having to go into each one and reselecting the new item in QuickBooks, we could select the old item here and then replace it with the new item. We can even have it keep the original price we had set up for that customer, or we could use the price that's in QuickBooks. So let's look at how all this pricing comes into play with the route schedule. Now again, that pricing is basically a template for each customer on my route schedule of their usual order. And what that allows me to then do is automatically create an invoice for every customer on my route schedule. So I'm going to go ahead and auto-generate these invoices for my stops here on the 7th. To do that, I would just go into Routing, Auto-Generate Route Tickets. I then need to select the date I want to create my route tickets for, so the 7th here. And I can do this for one day, or I could do the date range and do it for a whole week. I could generate tickets just for a specific route or leave it blank for all routes that fit this date. Or I could do it just for one particular customer. I have an option, do I want to show the fill cap on the invoice? So if I have any customers that I have set the fill cap for to manually adjust that quantity on this invoice, I want that to yes. I could have the customer's balance printed out on these tickets from QuickBooks. And by default, the invoices that print out of OCS are a double invoice format that's meant to be printed on perforated paper. That way you have an office copy and a customer copy. Yes, Stacy.
I was curious, back when you select a customer, I have a customer, Valero, HOD, and then I have all the jobs underneath that, and there's like 10 or 15 jobs. So if I just simply select the main customer, it will print out all the jobs underneath it?
No, when you see this select customer here, this is only if you want to print an invoice for, let's say, I only want to print an invoice for this customer on the route on the 7th. That right there, when I auto-generate a ticket, would create only one invoice for this customer because he's on my route for the 7th.
Will the jobs?
If you're trying to print just for one particular job, you would just select the job name in this list.
Okay, well, okay. So if I pick instead of selecting jobs and select the actual customer, I'm curious if I would.
If on your route schedule, let's see if I've got on your route schedule, if you're using customer parents and customer jobs, it's going to be displayed like this, where on the right side, I have my parent names, and on the left side would be the job name. So if you look at this customer parent has 2 job sites, right here and here.
Okay.
On my route schedule, I want to pick the job site that I'm servicing, not the parent. So I would pick that as my customer I'm servicing.
Okay. So
when I generate route tickets, it's only going to generate tickets for the jobs or customers that are on the route schedule for that particular day.
Okay. That makes sense. I've been selecting the main customer for my route schedule, but I really need to be selecting the job.
Correct. You're actually servicing that job site, so that's where you want to pick it on your route schedule.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. I'm going to go ahead and generate tickets now for the 7th for all the customers on all my routes. Generate tickets. It says complete and just hit OK. And right here I could hit view tickets to see all the tickets we just created. Now if you look, it opened up a new tab, the Open Invoice List. Route tickets are invoices. Let me just close this screen here. So when I hit view tickets, what it actually did is took me to invoicing, view pending invoices. These are all the auto-generated invoices for all the customers on my route for the 7th. And if I double-click the order number here, I can open it up and see that it loaded all the customer-specific pricing. This one happened to use the fill cap. I've got my quantities here. I'm going to close this screen. After I've generated, I could go to Print Route Tickets. And it's going to bring up my print preview. You'll see this is just the double invoice format. So you have the left side be your office copy, the right side is your customer copy. And if I just go down to the bottom and hit next page, it's going to go to the next invoice. This would allow me to kind of scroll through all my invoices that I've created. And I could print these out and hand them to the driver. The driver could turn back in the office copy with any adjusted quantities. And what I would do at the end of my day is I would go to my pending invoice list. I would open up any customer that I would need to adjust any quantities for. Once I've adjusted all the invoices based on what my driver turned back in, I could run an end-to-day report. I could select the date, pick my route, and I could run an end-of-day recap. It would give me total number of invoices for this route tech 6. Here's his total sales for the day. And all these forecasting and amounts would populate. They run as averages. So once you start doing a couple invoices for all these customers, you'll see these averages start populating. After printing my end-of-day recap, I could then post these to QuickBooks, and it's going to send all of the invoices for the 7th for Route 1 to QuickBooks. I would then repeat this procedure for all my routes just by changing my route to maybe Route 2, printing its end-of-day recap, and posting it to QuickBooks. I can also, maybe at the beginning of the day, I could print out a pack-out order or a list of all the items that maybe my tech needs to bring with them for the day. So I could do maybe a detail by customer and hit print. And it's going to tell me each stop and the items for that customer that I maybe need to load. I also have a summary by item. And this would give me all the items that are on today's route and their quantities that I would need. Anyone have any questions on auto-generating route tickets, printing them, and then viewing the open invoices? Is this making a little more sense now, Stacy?
Sorry, I had you muted. Yes, it is. I really need to just dig in and get my hands for the actual process, but you definitely simplified it for me.
Okay, perfect, perfect. And just a note to maybe anyone that is going to be watching this training video in the future, the process I just walked through is how we would do invoices on paper, manual tickets. If you're using our mobile office software with our tablet program, these invoices are then sent to the tablet. They're completed in the field by the technician, and then they're downloaded back into OCS. And at that point, you would see that invoices would be marked as field completed, and that's how you'd know the technician had finished that invoice. At the end of the day, all the invoices should be filled out as field completed unless they skip that stop and are saving it maybe to knock out tomorrow. I do want to take the last 5 or so minutes here to just open the floor to any general questions. Stacy or Edward, any questions?
What does OCS stand for?
I believe it's Office Coffee Service. The OCS is also called RouteStar, and it's I know you're more familiar with the service program, and it's kind of the this is kind of what's spun off of the service program. This is kind of the sister software. It was originally designed just kind of for this niche industry for office coffee, bottled water companies.
Thank you.
All right, if that's all the questions, I hope everyone has a great weekend, and we'll see you next week in the training class.
Thank you.
Have a great day.